Hi guys. So if you've seen the previous part of this, you'll know that we're doing a 7-string shootout and we've got 12 sets of strings. So we've finally been through them all in part 1, but we didn't say which ones were which. So now it's time for the big reveal. So here they are. So were they the ones that you thought they'd be? Because we were quite surprised by some of these. And if you want to have a look at the list, this is what they all are. Because Callum's been making a little table of which ones he thought were good in terms of feel and tone and stability. And some of them have been really quite a surprise. I know that number 2 is the set was one of your favourites, if not the favourite.
Yeah, that definitely stood out.
That was the Ernie Cobalts.
Alright.
Yeah, which I've not used before, and I was really quite impressed. As soon as we put them on the guitar, we were just like, whoa. Yeah, they were louder.
There's definitely a part of it felt, I didn't know what was going to come after it, but the one that came before it was just an absolute dog.
Yeah, the GHS
nice
Boomers. It's like, it's a real shame, because I had high hopes for the Boomers. But yeah, they needed tuning several times, and they didn't jump out in terms of the sound. For us, at least. I mean, you guys will probably have different opinions on what you've heard, but from what we could feel, I mean, my fingers are raw from retuning 12 times, but yeah, it was really interesting. What was the other one? Was it the last one of your favourites?
Yeah, I found the tone really nice.
Again, good old Ernie balls.
Playability was nice as well, yeah.
Slinkies.
Yeah.
Slinky 10s. And let's have a look at, what did you rate number 4?
Number 4 was a bit down the middle, really.
Because that was your usual go-to, Diodarios. Yeah. Now there's an interesting thing.
I think there could be a couple little variables with it. I obviously usually play an RGD.
Yeah.
And that would affect my playing, getting more used to this guitar as I went through.
Right,
and
yeah,
definitely would have played a slight role, but at the same time, the second set I played through was probably my favourite.
It's interesting, isn't it, how they just jumped right out. A lot of them were kind of middle of the field. I certainly noticed that the last ones, the Slinkies, had a good feel to them. Let's have a look. So what have you rated badly? Apart from the GHS, nothing really... Number 10, which was the Dean Markleys. Yeah, interesting. I couldn't get hold of the Dean Markley Blue Steels, but the Nickels, yeah, not so good.
It just felt dull.
Yeah, I noticed when stringing
Nothing
those up
stood out.
that they were kind of springy as well. Not good springy, just not holding very well. So, the 6s, we all said as we played, Elixirs. They are my favourites, partly because I know that they last, but also they play well. I play Elixirs on most of my guitars, mostly because they feel good and they last. But the feel's quite important to me. But interestingly, as a studio engineer, the tone of those Cobalts really jumped out. And I mean, they are more expensive by a long way than the Slinkies. But maybe, especially for studio stuff, the tone really offset that. And that's where Kris is on the studio computer now, researching the prices so we can get an idea of value.
Okay.
So, the GHSs.
GHS Boomers.
Yep.
£10.
$9.99. And we really didn't like them, so for value...
It's not super expensive.
Whoa, they're not the cheapest. And considering we didn't like them...
I would never say good value because there's not a low enough amount of money I would have to buy those strings. They just didn't work for me.
That's fair. Right, so the Ernie Ball, let's talk about the Slinkies and the Cobalts, because this is where it gets interesting. The Cobalts sounded better than the Slinkies. We keep coming back and saying the Cobalts, number 2, were the best. But how much are the Slinkies, Kris? 7-string Slinkies?
The standard Slinky?
Yeah.
£6.50.
£6.50. And the Cobalts?
You're looking at about £15.
15, so it's more than twice as much.
You're getting to about 3 times nearly.
Yeah. Let's say they had a life longevity of a week if you're studio rather than stage. Would you still pay the extra for the Cobalts?
I think it's all about your needs, isn't it? If you're just a more of a casual player, you'd go for the Slinkies, well, the Ernie balls.
It's a fair shout.
But depending on what you're looking to get out of your playing, definitely go for the Cobalt if you're willing to pay that bit more.
I think if I was practicing in my bedroom for a week, I'd pick the Slinkies, but if I was recording, probably splash out on the Cobalts. Because they did... I wasn't sure of the marketing when it said things like, kind of brighter, louder. I thought it was kind of marketing mumbo jumbo, but it really did jump out, didn't it?
Yeah.
Through a tube screamer, through a 6505, it still got through.
And there wasn't much tweaking going on either, was there?
Well, we've touched nothing. That's the thing. Once we got the amp settings right for number 1, we didn't touch the amp at all. We switched between green and red channels for the clean, and turned the tube screamer off for the clean, obviously, but that's it. Didn't touch a thing. I mean, that's another interesting variable, I think, that maybe if your strings are brighter, you might dial your amp back a bit. If you were going to stick with a brand and then work with it. But just doing a straight shootout, yeah. The Dunlop Brights, you rated them for feel the best, I think. Oh no, second best after the Cobalts. And the tone was 8, so the Dunlop Brights got a big thumbs up. I think that's about it. So everything was average unless we mentioned it as great or awful. How much are the Superbrights, Kris?
Superbrights, we're looking at about £8 for a 7-string set, which isn't bad.
So that's not bad at all. So £8 for a 7-string set.
Strong across the board.
Absolutely.
Really, really nice to play.
So those might actually come out top for value.
And for the most part, there's a definite correlation between the feel and the tone.
That's very interesting because, yeah, I found that the ones that grated on my fingers didn't sound that good. The DRs, probably not the best for metal, they're probably best for like jazz guys because they were very springy, very springy. Springy. That's a word now, apparently. But they were number 11, so they were right near the end, and you didn't rate them very... Well, you didn't rate them badly, but not particularly well. How much are the Elixirs?
Elixir, we are looking at £13.
£13, so not actually as expensive as the Ernie Ball Cobalts.
But a lot more than the Dunlops.
Yes, they're more than the Dunlops. But then that leads us to another question. How long would they last? Because the Elixirs, in my experience, last a lot longer.
Yeah, I would probably put that down to the NanoWeb tube defense.
The coating, yeah.
The coating. But
yeah, I would as well. They are the only coated strings that we've tested, just because Elixir don't do non-coated strings. They're the option if you want.
They are saying they last 3 to 5 times longer.
Yeah, and
so really, if you think you're going to be changing your strings 3 times less, then more towards £12. Well, £4 a set.
absolutely. That's where it gets interesting, because that's a real curveball. But then we could have got the Diodario coated, and maybe they would... That's an argument maybe for another day, is coated strings versus non-coated. And oh, the Cleartones. Cleartones are always...
Yeah.
They're not... Are they coated, or are they kind of some special longevity...
The Cleartones, the 5th ones I used. The number 5.
So the feel you rated... But number 5, yeah. So you didn't rate the tone that high. They kind of...
It was the one that stood out for... It didn't feel like there was much of a connection. That's why it stood out, because as I said before, for the most part there was a correlation between the tone and the feel, but with those it felt really nice to play. There was a nice bounce I was getting. It just felt good. It was like... Not really much to add to that really, but the sound that came out just didn't quite sync up with how it felt, and that was disappointing, to be honest.
Cleartones are also coated.
They are coated, yeah, and they're £14 I can see on the screen.
Yeah, 14.
Just got new glasses, so I can just about see it.
Again, claiming 3 to 5 times longer.
Mm.
They're also claiming 36% louder.
Yeah, which didn't seem to be our findings, did it? I mean, louder compared to
From what I
what?
recall, they were very muddy.
Yeah, maybe there's just more overall output where the Cobalts had that bright attack. I mean, louder doesn't necessarily mean better. Which, again, is an interesting conversation for another day. The NYXLs came as a good all-rounder, 7.5, 8, 8. But they are quite expensive.
Yeah, we're looking at about £15 again for some NYXLs.
So, they are good strings, the NYXLs, and I've used the NYXLs on bass and I really highly rated them in the review that I did. But 15 quid for a set of guitar strings, they better be really good for that money.
They didn't quite stand out as you'd want them to for that amount of money, so...
No, I mean, let's look at the
value-wise,
rating.
it's not
So,
what we'd be looking for.
tone for the standard Didarios, you gave a 6.5, and tone for the NYXLs, you gave an 8. So the tone was better on the NYXLs, you thought, but the cost is so much higher.
What was the stability
On
the NYXL?
the NYXLs, got an 8 for stability. So
That's interesting, because they actually marked it saying improved tuning stability.
indeed they do. And it did rate highly in terms of stability, but the Elixirs were higher rated. In fact, they were the highest rating for stability. The normal Diodarios, interestingly, got a higher rating for stability than the NYXLs did. Only marginally, at 8.5 rather than 8. But yeah, I will make a neat version of this and put this up on screen now so that people can see our findings. Guys, let us know what you thought based on what you heard. We'll play the distorted then the clean one more time here with what the actual set was now rather than set 1, set 2. And then we'll talk a little more. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you found this really useful. Let us know if you disagree in the comments, or even if you do agree, because we want to hear your opinions. Hit the like button if you found this useful. Please subscribe to the channel, because we really appreciate that kind of thing. It helps us grow and helps us do more of this kind of thing. And consider helping us out on our Patreon page, maybe so we can buy more things, like more 7 or 8, maybe even 8 string strings, so we can do another one of these kind of comparisons. I'm Adam Steele for the Hot Pulse Studios. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.